whoever has perms. So for the recording, Archie's the official judge. The official judge is Archie. The official judge is Archimedes. The official judge, Deadboy, and I agree to is Archimedes. Infinity and Deadboy agree to Archimedes as the official judge. The official judge that both of us agree to is Archimedes. For the tournament, the official judge that both me and Deadboy agree to is Archimedes. Infinity is the debater versus Deadboy. The official judge is Archimedes. The topic is Luffy versus I forgot what character he has. It's Crossverse. So
Wait, who the judge?
I think it's Archimedes or Archimedes. But look though. Alright. So you want me to start my skill?
Infinity, I love you, man. You got this.
I love you too, man. Thank you.
Yeah, be Deadboy on my behalf. I lost to him.
Okay, whoa. Let me clarify, because I ain't gonna lie. My bad.
You out just now. What'd you say?
Hold on. Before you do, let me clarify something in chat, because I ain't gonna lie. No. Look, I'm not here to win the tournament to debate fucking Aeroflame. I do not give a fuck about Aeroflame. I'm here for the easy $200, and I was begged to join the tournament. But anyways, I said, do you want me to start?
Good.
Yeah, my position is that my character wins, and I just think he has subjective reality. Mano, do you have the scans?
The Luffy scan?
Yeah. Nigga, what else?
So my response to that is I understand. I agree that Luffy has subjective reality. Subjective reality, right? So we can't give it like bland shit. Like there has the ability to. Do you agree? What I'm saying.
Well, am I lagging? Like I've been said, am I delayed?
No, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, I agree that he has subjective reality. I agree that in the verse, people use and model their ability usage distinctly. However, if we're doing a crossfit scenario and we're taking control of the characters, then it doesn't matter.
That's not how that works. I don't only agree with using in character. So we just be fighting at character.
Okay, well, I ain't gonna lie. We're doing a different topic then. Different topic.
All right, but yeah, I don't agree.
I'll take Confimto then. Hello?
So what?
I said I'll take Confimto.
You take Confimto?
Yup.
All right, bet. Take Confimto. I'll just take Chris Rayon.
I don't know who that is, but I bet. My character's true form is abstract. You got contention?
What is that supposed to mean? Like, what is that supposed to give your character?
Aspatial, atemporal.
He's just all he is. He's just aspatial, atemporal.
His true form is, yo.
So which form are you using your character's true form?
I'm using Confimto. So if a physical avatar is a part of his abilities, and then that would include Confimto.
Confimto. So you're saying your character is just aspatial, atemporal.
His true form is yes.
Okay, send a scan for that.
Got you.
Like these niggas in the chat just hate crying.
That nigga next is bouncing. That nigga bouncing.
Yo, Deadboy, notice how you was not acting like this was anybody with.
Yeah, I don't know.
Look. Chill. So there's multiple scans that justify this, but this is the first scan. Look at VC justification. So send it comments on how his opponent, that being Guts' opponent, who's obviously Griffith, is a transcendental, which by definition means in relation to the non-physical or spiritual realm, but we obviously know it's referring to the non-spiritual and physical, non-physical realm, because it says beyond physical reasoning. Reasoning is the language we use to describe the world. That's what logic is, the language that we use to attempt to describe the world. So if it says physical reasoning, which is synonymous with physical logic, it's obviously talking about
yourself.
Hello? Am I lagging still?
You lag. You lag.
Yeah, so in the scan, it says his opponent is a transcendental. Transcendental means, by definition, related to the spiritual realm or a non-physical realm. We know it's in conjunction because within the Berserk verse, they have an astral world, which is non-physical because it says it's beyond physical reasoning. Reasoning is synonymous with logic. Logic is the language we use as an attempt to describe the world. So obviously, if it says physical reasoning, or in other words, physical logic, it's the language we use as an attempt to describe the physical world. And if he's beyond it in attempt to describe the physical world, that means you cannot describe him physically. If you can't describe him physically, he's dichotomous. You're either non-physical or physical. There you go. If you do exist, at least.
So the first question I would ask, based off the nature of how she's describing this person, how would she even know this? Like, how did she know that this person, this entity, is beyond reasoning? Like, did this entity come down and tell her that he was beyond reasoning? Is this like her boyfriend or something? Like, how does she know this information? Like, how can a regular human being, which I'm obviously supposing that she is, how can a regular human being just
Hello? Did he cut off for
Like,
me?
like what
Am I
she is. Let
lagging?
me see.
Hello? Wait, am I lagging or
Yeah,
is he lagging?
no,
He cut off right now.
I think I laughed for a little bit.
Alright.
But I'm saying
Yeah, go ahead.
that's what I was supposing. I don't necessarily know who this is, but I'm actually basically just asking for the validity. Like, how could you possibly know that this person is transcendental and beyond physical reasoning? Like she herself, beyond physical reasoning too. How can someone come to the conclusion that
Hmm.
this is the case? That's what I'm saying. Like I
Okay.
usually would take
Yeah,
statements
so
like
one.
this. Well, I would usually take statements like this, more valid if it was like
Hello, is nigga, is he
a
cutting out? Am I
linear
He's
lagging?
cutting out. He's
thing
cutting
that with
out.
this character.
Hey, you cutting out, Deadboy, my bad.
You hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now, but you were cutting out before,
Yeah,
but I'm pretty
yeah.
sure I heard everything you
So I
said.
would
You're
usually.
cutting out like every
Can you
like
hear
every
me?
like 3 minutes. You're cutting out. Like it's not like very often, but every like 2-3 minutes you're cutting out.
It's some bullshit.
Okay.
You can hear me
I heard
now?
everything you said though. Yeah.
Well,
Going to slow.
I was gonna add, I was gonna add how I would usually take statements like this to be like
Uh-huh.
more valid when
Oh
or
my
something
god.
like that. But for our character to just make this statement,
Uh-huh.
like how did she, like what is the justification for her to come to this conclusion? That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, so there's multiple responses. One, you can just cut me off whenever I lag and I'll repeat it, or whenever you lag, let me know. Additionally, you said, how is it possible for her to know? I don't think there's a contradiction in her obtaining knowledge on the abstract being. In response to the last thing, there's a consistency that she has. And then in response to the second thing that you mentioned was the presupposition of her being a human. To comment on that, I don't, she's not a human, she's a witch, and she has connections to the astral world, which is where the spiritual
Like
beings
you
reside
lagged
in.
out, bro. You lagged out, bro.
Yeah, so first
You
point.
lagged out, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
You lagged.
Yeah. First point, there's no contradiction in response to you saying that how could she possibly know? Additionally, in response to the second thing, she is a witch, not a human, so that presupposition is just thrown out the window. The witches in within the verse are connected to the astral realm, which I can show thoroughly. Hello?
Bro, we hear you,
Yeah,
bro.
yeah,
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
if
yeah.
you're
oh, the last thing,
Wait,
but
hold
I
on,
ain't
hold on,
gonna.
hold on, hold on,
I'm
hold on.
gonna
Hold on. The last thing is that there's a consistency. So for the
bro.
narrative thing, it doesn't really
Now
matter.
wait, hold on. You keep
Okay,
lagging. You
but
keep
you made
lagging.
multiple points, so I'm just gonna bring up all of
You
them.
keep lagging. No, no. I'm being serious. You keep lagging. Like we're gonna have to just respectfully just answer point by point. So I'll
Okay,
just
wait,
answer your
hold on.
yeah.
Hello. Before you do y'all hear me? Am I still lagging?
Deadboy's the one that's lagging.
Okay, Zing, do you hear me?
Nah, both
Yeah,
of y'all are good right now. Both of y'all are good right
Okay,
now.
look. So you can sure you can respond to them in an order. You can go point by point, but I just want to clarify to the judge: all my points currently stand the same as he gave multiple points that currently stand. If I didn't respond to them in your opinion, judge, but I'm not here to motivate Deadboy specifically. I'm here to motivate the judge of my beliefs that my character is abstract. So even if after all this he isn't motivated by the evidence I deliver, as long as my judge, which is Archimedes, by the way, for the recording, is Archimedes. He's the judge. Then
Medes.
that's all I need.
Okay. So what I was just asking for is because for the sake of fact that we keep lagging every 2 minutes, can I just hear one argument at a time, not all of them in one, like random. That's all I'm saying. You keep cutting out. So it makes no sense to just keep going raw, like a what's the word? I'll run on sentence real quick, and then you can go to your argument just for the sake of us just like that's all I'm saying. You hear me?
Okay,
Don't
the
let the
thing
shitty
is,
bitch
yeah, I heard
activity
that. So as a
lost the
response to
call.
that,
Your ass is
hold on,
fucked, bro.
chill.
Shut the fuck up,
Wait,
bitch.
chill, bro. Who is that? Can y'all mute that Zane dude? I don't know who that is, but I'm pretty sure it's a pedophile. Oh, I have perms. Ooh.
It's that bum
You
ass
know what
nigga
the fuck
Haran
nigga?
SpongeBob.
No, I knew who it was, but look though, yeah. As a response to that, that's completely
Oh, the
fine if you would like to
trans
go by that.
faggot is a pedophile.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I chill with that for that. But look though, I understand why you would want to go by that metric, but like I said, if you're going to deliver multiple points, I don't want to just leave that on standby. So I'm going to respond to all the points. Look, in the future, if you want to go point by point, that's completely fine. But please do not go and deliver multiple points and then say you want me to go point by point when I'm responding.
Well, yeah. Well, you can still hold on. So as of right now, I'm charitable as a debate. If you just find my points one by one, don't worry about the other points until we get to them. That's what I'm saying. So you don't got to do it like directly respond. If you need me to repeat
Yeah,
them, I can repeat them for you. This just for it could be charitable for this. So you don't have to take this into account like I'm just saying points and you don't have the opportunity to respond. If you forget them, like the same way if I forget yours, you can just easily just ask me and I'm fine for
yeah.
repeating it.
Yeah, but the entire problem with that is that we are completely distinct for debaters. So we consider what's a sub point, a main point, etc. We consider all of those distinctly. However,
I
I'm
don't think
completely
that.
willing to do that. Hold on. I'm completely willing to do that. But when I give my points, which are the ones that I've given in the past, I want them to still stand. They do still stand. If you want me to repeat them, correct. I'm not one of these rap debaters like fucking Mandy, who's fat as fuck, who just says the points and won't repeat it if you ask. But I'm willing to repeat it if you would ask me to, and that's completely fine. I'm just saying they still stand.
Yeah, so I'm asking you, can you repeat your first point and not
Yes.
going to the second and third? I'm just to repeat.
Yeah. The second and third still stand, by the way. But the first point that I made was
Uh,
there's no contradiction of her knowing without
you
empirical
got you
evidence.
got to repeat yourself again. Hold on.
Yeah, I said there's no contradiction in her knowing. This is as a response to you saying, how is it possible for her to know? It's no contradiction for her to know an abstract entity existing with a lack of empirical evidence.
Okay. So you saying about there's no contradiction thing that doesn't really respond to the initial thing I said. All I'm asking is, how did she get this information? Right? It doesn't
Yep.
need to be a contradiction for us to come to the conclusion that what's the word? I can't.
You lied out. Yeah, hold on, just to be clear. I gave a response to multiple things. I gave a response to every single relevant word, the ones that I deem relevant, at least, and that the judge would probably deem relevant. The first thing was, how could she possibly determine this? The last thing that you said was, how did she
That's
come to this
not.
conclusion?
That's not the first. That's not the first thing I said.
Okay, look, we just disagree, but the problem is you said it and I responded. So if you disagree, hold on. If you want to change your claim now, or if you want to go
I'm
back
not
to the
changing my
last claim that you
claim.
made, hold on. If you want to go back to the last claim that you made was how could she conclude, or the question at least, how could she conclude this? Then that's completely fine. I already responded to this, but I
I
want to
didn't
make clear
change.
in
I did.
response to the first possible thing.
That's not. But that's the first thing I said though when I first looked at the scan.
Okay, look, we just disagree. I believe that's the first thing that you said.
That's not
However, it doesn't
what I
matter.
said.
There's a recording. If you don't want to stand on that, that's completely fine. I
I
already
feel like I
responded
need
to
to.
it. Doesn't matter. And I'm saying that
Yeah,
if that's not
but
what you
I'd
said, then
rather
I'm
have like
responding
a.
to a non-point.
Shut the fuck up, bitch ass nigga.
I don't know who that nigga talking to.
They
Wait,
both
Deadboy,
of
I'm
they
saying
silly
What
what
I
I'm
ass
saying.
said,
What I'm
voices
saying.
though at
I'll
the
tell you
same
what
Y'all
I
chill,
time.
chill,
said.
chill, chill. Y'all
The
chill, y'all
first thing
chill.
that I
Wait,
said is,
Deadboy,
how did
hold
she
on, hold on.
notice? Hold
I'm
on,
saying,
bro.
hold on,
I
hold on,
said the
Deadboy.
first.
I'm saying. Hold on. I'm saying though, if you don't believe you said that, then that just means, at least relative to your knowledge, I responded
Wait.
to a non-point,
So
so it
what's
doesn't
the
matter.
so what's the confusion?
So
Like,
the
Okay,
confusion. The confusion
okay, he's lagging.
I was
But
responding to the first thing that I said when I was responding to a scan. I just said, how does she know
Get
this
it out, nigga.
information?
Stop that.
Bro, that's all I said. I said, how does she know this information?
okay,
That's
no,
all
no,
I'm
no.
saying.
Okay, so to
look,
clarify really quick, so you guys can progress. Like at
yeah,
first he did say this, but then later on you said possibly as well. I think
exactly.
that's where the
Yeah. So
confusion
the
is.
entire problem is
Yeah,
Deadboy.
so
When you're trying to respond, you just
well, I'll just say Grice's razor. I didn't mean to say
okay, that's not
possibly.
what Grass's razor is. That's not how Grass's razor
That's
works.
not what I
But
meant to.
I'm
That's
saying,
not what I meant to say.
hold on, I'm saying that's completely fine. That's why we can move on from. But so, what are your responses to my other points if you recall them?
But no, wait a minute. I
Yo, what's up? Hello?
asked the first question. What is your
Well, I
first
didn't hear
point?
you. My bad.
I said, what is your
Oh yeah.
first
So
point?
yeah, to respond, yeah. So yeah. So well, that was my first point. But if
I
we
said,
want to assume, hold on. But if we're going by the lie that you didn't say the first argument that you gave or the first question that you gave, then we can go to the second point or the last point.
what
The
lie?
last point
What
was
lie?
the consistency that I'm talking about. Would you like the scans?
No, I'm talking about the scans of the possibility. Talk about the contradiction and stuff like that. That point. What lie did
So
I
you do
give?
want to go to the contradiction point?
Stop cutting me off, Brody.
No, I'm
I
asking. I'm
said,
asking.
what? Can you please just start cutting me off? I can't. Like, are you referring to? Because just clarify what happened. The question was, I just asked you simply, how does she know this information? I even put in something else. I said, did the nigga come down and tell her or something? How does she know this information? Now, later on, if I said, how she possibly know this, that's not what I meant to say initially. And I was just going to say that I really did mean this the first thing I asked. So the first thing I asked is, how does she know this information? So can you respond to that question? How does she
Yeah, I'm
know
going to
this
respond to the
information?
question after I respond to the point you just made. So, although this point is irrelevant, I just want to clarify to the judge. Yes, I agree that you said both things. The reason why I called it a lie is because initially you made the comment that you didn't at all talk about her possible knowledge. How did she possibly attain this fact? How did she possibly know this? And then I agree you brought up the example.
Mm-hmm.
Did he come down and tell her? Blah blah blah. But I'm saying, if you don't believe you said that, I would just be responding to a non-point in your eyes. Therefore, it does not matter because the judge can give his judgment on that point. Now, the response that I gave to the other determination, which was, how does she come to this conclusion? I said, because of her witch-like properties, in which allows her to be interactive astrally. The consistency is something that adds upon this with femto being abstract, which I can send if you would like me to.
You cut out, bro. You cut out.
Yo, Archie, did you hear what I said?
You cut
Wait,
out.
that what you just said? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, Deadboy, do you know when I cut out, or do you want me to just repeat
Nah,
everything?
so the only thing I heard, I think you said that it's a you saying that it would just be a non-point. You just reiterated that you said that
Yeah.
you
Okay.
would be
Look. Look.
responding
Look.
to a
Look.
non-point.
If it is the case that you don't believe you said that, then relative to your knowledge, it will be a non-point. Therefore, this will be irrelevant to debate upon because the judge heard what I said, the recording heard what I said. Now, to add upon that, what I said after was the third response to the question that you proposed and laid on the table was the fact that she was a witch, and due to her witch-like properties, she has astral connections, which is the justification or motivation I can deliver to the judge as to why she would have knowledge of the abstractness this character presents. Now, I would like to also add the consistency within Berserk of her abstractness, which I can send the scans if you would like me to.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking for. I'm just asking for the proof that she would
I bet.
have ways
Okay,
or
wait,
on
hello, do you hear
physical
me?
reasoning. Yeah, that's what I'm asking you for. I'm asking you for the proof that she has the means to have some type of interaction with things beyond physical reasoning. I want to see that she's like at that level or has a
Well,
capability to do things
the
herself.
motivation's
Because
analytical.
wait, hold on. You're
Wait, I don't
saying
mean to cut you
motive.
off, but you're lagging, you're lagging, you're lagging, you're lagging, you're lagging. That's why I keep cutting you off because I
You
don't know that you're done talking.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now. Yeah.
All right. So what I was saying is, you saying that you have motivation that leads
You're
to
lagging again.
justify. Hello.
Yeah, we heard you.
Okay. Yeah. So you said that you just have motivation to why, which I feel like that motivation right here isn't strong enough evidence because of how complex the statement is. The complexity of the statement is that this character is beyond physical reasoning. So for me to come to the conclusion of something like that, how would she be able to get this information unless she has the means to? So if you just show me some scans of her being simply connected to the astral realm or something like that, that does not have to be the same way. There are laws or reason or stuff like that. Like, let me go see other descriptors that's given within the scan. But I don't think that her just simply being a witch is a justification that can say so. Like even right here, thoughts
Okay,
and
look.
feelings are independent. Hold on here. She says thoughts and feelings are even indefensible for magic. I'm not sure. I hope you know what indefensible means. His opponent is a transcendental entity beyond physical reason. So she's literally describing him as like something different. Like, how did she come to this conclusion? That's what I'm trying to say. How does she know? Like, what was the
Okay,
part of
yes.
time?
Okay.
Hold on. What was the part of time where she figured out this information? Like, that's all I'm
Okay.
asking you.
Yeah, I know what you're asking. Look, so for the third time, I don't care about you thinking whether or not it's strong enough evidence. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to convince the judge as a response to the first point. For the second point, when you say it's complex, that's obviously off of your prior experiences and intuition. There's no motivation you can deliver to me or the judge as to why it would be complex to either of us. For example, if I read Berserk, it seems to be the case, at least to me, not to you, so I'm not talking about you. To me, it seems to be the case that every character is abstract. Then them commenting on another character being abstract wouldn't be complex relative to the prior experiences I have. So I don't care about complexity when there's obviously relative to your prior experiences, intuition. And then as a response to the final point, it doesn't even matter what the indispensable means at all in this context. I've already told you I can send the evidence for the consistency. When it comes to her witch-like properties, which entails an astral connection, the reason why that would be relevant to Femto is because he exists in a astral plane or a plane that's related to it, which we see a narrative portrayal of the astral plane being a non-physical slash spiritual realm. Now, I'm going to send the evidence for that. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. Mhm. Deep. Look at VC justification.
So I'll respond to the first two, and then we could just talk about the third one.
Hello?
And you could just You hear me?
Well, I mean, I can repeat it because I still want it to stand. I don't want any points
But
to just
I'm just
go
saying. Let
through.
me just. I didn't hear that third one at all.
Okay, if you
I
ask me to
haven't.
repeat it, I'll repeat it later, but it still stands right now.
Well, okay. But can you just repeat right now?
Yeah, yeah. So what I was saying, like, you talking about her, which like I may not entail, or you talk about that. You questioning whether a full connection to Griffith is irrelevant due to the information I delivered about the astral realm being solely connected to the witch-like properties that she shares. She is actually connected due to her being a witch, which the astral world is something that's narrowly portrayed to be abstract, which is where femto resides, by the way. It's connected to the femto realm, meaning that her knowledge anyways, meaning that her knowledge upon the astral realm, which is inherently granted by her witch-like abilities, because to be a witch in Berserk, you have to at least experience an astral plane or experience yourself in astral realm. Therefore, what I'm saying is true. The scans are in VC justification, by the way.
Okay. So let me go to attack it point by point. The
Uh,
first point where you're talking about you were just like not here to convince me, not here to like the judge. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm saying it's not a strong enough reason because you're just going back into the initial thing. The thing that I asked was does she have how does she have the knowledge to attain this thing? What was your response to that question? Just like, can you give me a quick response?
due to her being a
Hello?
witch, which makes it
Yeah, due to her
analytically
being
true that she would have a determination. I wasn't done. Can I repeat the answer real quick so you hear the full thing? I hear you now, but can I repeat the full
yeah,
answer? I promise I'm
yeah.
not gonna
Repeat the
ramble.
full
Yeah.
answer.
So the answer was due to her being a witch, which analytically builds a connection between her and the astral world. Go ahead.
Okay, so that you were saying that
You're lagging.
analytic. I'm lagging again.
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, bet. So you're saying basically it's just because she's a witch and has analytical into the astral realm, right? I'm saying
Sure.
that that's not a strong enough response because why does her being a witch and her being connected to the astral realm automatically gain her the fact of knowing beings beyond physical reasoning? That's all I'm asking. Don't her to know this information.
Wait, can
How
you
does
repeat
her
that? Someone put a soundboard. Can you repeat that?
Okay. I'm saying just because she is a witch and just because she has the us before I even respond to that. Let me just like dwell what are these scans?
The
What are these
scans are for
scans?
the third point. I'm waiting for you to finish so I can send the proof that she's
No,
connected to
I
the
want the
astral
point
world.
that I want the point about the witch shit and the connection to the astral realm.
Do you want us to pause real quick so I can get that scan?
Yeah, because I think that's like
Yes.
really dependent on you know what I'm saying?
Yup. At least this point is short. Her knowledge, her ability. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
Yo, thank
Make
you.
it bigger.
Tell me out real quick.
You said what? Hey, shout out Ghetto Jen.
Tight shit, tight shit.
Tight it is. Tight it is. What the hell?
Yeah, baby. Hey.
All right, yeah.
I don't see you in a time again, baby. Eh. Alright, can y'all chill, bro? You already know Apollo's a pedophile, bro. You're not trying to hear that.
Hey, Anthony, can you call me up, man? Can you like tell everyone to like know the names anyway? Please.
All right, BB, bro.
I just,
Relax, man. This nigga just doing anything.
Oh my god, bro.
Parlor and real Sasuke going fight for fight, soundboard for soundboard at this point.
Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, so look at
Can someone fucking unserver deafen me? Fucking bitch.
undeafen Itachi. Don't be weird. Actually, happens. I have to
Itachi.
scan. I'm about to send it.
yeah, I'm need to go next too. All right.
Wait, which one is Itachi?
Uh,
IP chat.
Where you send it
Yeah,
in
so
the meeting
the
chat?
first scan,
Or,
easy justification is lower. So the first scan,
oh,
so you can see that they're advice and how there's a lack of ability to just randomly implementing these statements to describe the characters in the verse, which we understand that the verse of Berserk is very complex, narratively speaking. And then the sex scan is supposed to justify her teacher having astral projection, which her teacher is also a witch. They're connected to the spirit tree in the second scan you can see.
okay. So let me see. So just let me read these scans. I would never, if you could, as a kid for
How
now,
do people actually
you'll
think
be.
Deadboy is? No disrespect to Deadboy,
I
but
know
man.
you'd be about that. You didn't need a word. Went through death. We magic you as part with love. One carries a different meaning than you in the physical world. So, like, what is that first scan supposed to prove? Because all this is
The
to
first
us who
scan,
live
the
both in.
first scan just shows her commenting on it and how there's a lack of reasonability that you can provide for there being a lie just implemented within a verse,
Why
especially
would
for a
it?
verse like hold on, for a verse like Berserk specifically.
But why? Okay, you just show me another statement doesn't give proof that the first thing is like a lie. And it didn't make the claim that it's a lie. She might just be mistaken or she might just be misguided. I never was claiming that it's a
Yep.
lie. It's not my argument. You
I'm not
don't
saying that she
have
said
to
it
use.
was a lie.
All right. So if it's,
Hello?
again, I'm
Yeah, I
understanding that
could, but
she's.
can I explain why?
Well, all I'm saying is I understand he's a witch, and this is just saying like us who live both in both worlds, death is not an end, but an emergence into a new great existence is ever. So I'm fine that she can have some sort of connection to the astral world. Which because she has some sort of connection to the astral world does not mean that she would know everything about the entities that's within the astral world. Like her grand connection is automatically grant at
Hello?
any point in time. Like that's just there's no backing. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Yep.
I said there's no back. Her
I heard
just
what you. I heard
simply
what you said. I heard
having.
what you.
Well, I wasn't done. Her just simply having the means to have a connection with the astral realm does not grant her an infinite amount or a limited amount of knowledge about the entities that's within the astral realm. That's all I'm saying. So,
Mhm.
like I said, she could might have been mistaken or anything like that. About it. It's a simple question. You're just giving me the meaning. She just has an astral connection that she's a witch. That does not explain the fact of how they specifically know this fact or thing that she thinks is true about. That's what I'm asking you for. And I'm not even saying that she's on a lie. I'm just saying how they know this information. Her
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
telling,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so when you say that, you're not saying that she's lying, but instead she could be misguided. That means you separate analytically a lie and misguidance when you're spreading misinformation, which is completely fine. However, I'm saying, which I made a comment about you thinking that she's lying. I'm saying that there's no reasonability you could provide for the author randomly lying in a complex structure like this when they're trying to describe everything that's going on within Berserk. Additionally, it does not matter when it comes to your new question. It does not matter at all, and I'm not saying it's new overall, I'm just saying you're repeating it. It does not matter at all when she's seen Berserk, or I mean Griffith, or verified that he was abstract. The time limit does not matter. Whether or not she has motivation is the thing that matters. The fact that she has a connection to the asteroid is not used to justify her expansive knowledge of the asteroid. It's used to justify a basis for information. I'm not saying that due to her having a small detail or a small amount of details, that means she knows everything about the asteroid. I'm saying that due to her connection, she knows things about the asteroid, which would tie connectively to the main important fact of the asteroid, which is the God hand and the idea of evil. She doesn't have to know small details, which is, for example, where a demon is at 5 p.m. That is irrelevant. The same as if I know a Pop Tart, I can just know the flavor, but not know the ingredients or something like that. That's completely irrelevant. Now, in response to the first thing, you saying it's not a strong enough reason because I'm going back. There's no question back at all. I'm not going back to her being a witch to justify her being a witch. I'm not going back to her statement to justify the statement. I'm going to the consistency within Berserk, which is delivered by the score 9 scan that I sent and everything that we can talk about and the things that we have talked about so far. There's no argument as to why I'm question begging. And then you said prove she's connected to the Astroworld. That's for the second scan, if you want to contend that. But all this is justifying currently is that they consistently talk, even if you don't think it's true. You don't have to think it's true. consistently talk about the astral world, the physical world. She consistently does this. She has connections to people who's connected to the astral world, etc. Meaning there's at least a basis I can give for myself and Archie. If you don't accept the basis, that's completely fine. I'm not saying off of this limited basis, which is just the comments alone from her, it's therefore likely or justified that she 100% knows everything about Griffith. I'm saying that off of this basis and off of the lack of reasonability, which this is not an argument for ignorance, I'm not trying to use that to justify it being 100% true, but off of the lack of reasonability you can provide for the off the lying or providing misinformation about a complex story that we have little information about, it is likely true. My conclusion. Respond.
So, thing to just argue about why would the author lie? Again, you're trying to say why would the author lie? You're implementing the fact that the author is lying. I'm not saying that. I'm saying the author writes a verse, and like I said, it can be complex. So I think the different characters. That's what I'm saying. It's because I think it's completely fine for a character to make a wrong statement because all these characters are limited to knowledge. I'm not going to just grant the fact that all these characters' knowledge is supreme. Like, I'm not going to do that. Characters have an ability to make a wrong or inaccurate statement, and the author can write these characters to be complex. If it's a complex story, then I see no reason why the author can't have certain characters that's at least lacking in knowledge in certain areas or did not have completely the same knowledge. This is all I'm saying, bro. And you talking about the motivation thing that
This nigga
we have
stupid.
some reasoning to give to the only that does not have to make the fact that she knows about someone else or she knows everything about them. That's what I'm trying to say. Does her having this connection automatically grant her the ability to know about certain characters that are beyond reasoning? How is she able to describe this certain thing? That's what I'm trying. That's all I'm asking for. Where did she come to this conclusion? That's what I'm asking. You're saying it doesn't matter to where it every time, but it does have to because there's not again a reason to just point to the fact of oh she 100% knows this. That's what I'm saying. Your knowledge and stuff like that here, where it's very fundamental to the debate. I don't give a fuck about probability, right? I want to have some type of level of certainty or uncertainty so I can actually know how to contest certain things. I think when we talk about what a character has, like in assets wise, I think it's perfectly fine to know, okay, if the statement is true or false. So that's what I'm trying to press for the for more proof so I can agree with you. That's all I'm saying, bro. And then let me
So you
see. Can
saying,
I respond to your? I still got like
hold on,
maybe
before
three
we
other
get to
points
that,
I got to
because
respond
you
to.
gave a lot of points. Hold on, bro. We can get to that after. You give a lot of points. I ain't gonna lie. But hold on. So in response to the probability point, I don't really
Hold
care if
on.
you're accepting. Okay. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. No way, sing losses. Ain't gonna lie. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm. I love Goku, bro. Yo, Rage Bob is retarded. Who is that? It's always the one nigga that dick rides. And why isn't he muted, bro? I don't know.
You can repeat
All right,
yourself.
hello. I bet.
It's too remote, too
Yeah,
remote.
yeah. You good.
I
But for
think
the
they keep
probability thing, you have, hold on, I don't really care about you not accepting inductive arguments or deductive arguments. I believe they're consistently good and accurately descriptive of reality at times to the point where I'm fine with accepting them when something isn't 100% confirmed, which is why I accept them, why multiple people accept them. If you don't accept them, you can give a reason as to why you don't accept them, and then maybe I can agree to you or we can discuss it. You saying she doesn't 100% know this, although I do think she 100% knows this, her 100% knowing this is irrelevant. Even if there's a small, okay, let's say she goes off her observations of analyticity, and there's a small percent chance that she's incorrect because she missaw something, she misheard something, or anything like that. There's still a 99% chance of it being true, hypothetically, meaning that although it's 99% likely, that 1% alternative of her mishearing something, misjudging something, etc., is still there. So us saying that she does not know 100%, so us saying that she doesn't know 100% true or 100% whether or not he's abstract is irrelevant, although I do think she knows 100%. With the win thing, you have yet to explain why win this happens or when she verified this, you have yet to explain why that matters. You just said it matters, so that's kind of circular. And then you saying that she doesn't have enough knowledge or whether or not she has a determination of knowledge to give an accurate description or any description. I think she can just give an apathetic description. She can just describe him off of the opposite. If it's dichotomous, at least when you exist, if it's dichotomously true that you're non-physical or physical, she can just give an apathetic description based upon the negative of being physical. And then you said a character. The problem with the true thing is that she comments a lot. That's the entire point I'm bringing up. There's a distinction between a random character that the author implements to stray off the story with one comment, like, "Oh, he's over there," or "This character's stronger than that character," and a character who consistently is delivering information to the characters. Now, I agree, and I'm granting that you never said the character is purposely lying. You could say, or you did say that she's possibly, or she may just be misguiding us, or accidentally, or she's giving improper information, wrong information. That's completely fine. But if that's the case, then the author is lying because the author has the intent of misguiding us with wrong information, which is why I'm bringing up the point that there's a lack of reasonability for the author to lie consistently with a character who is almost a main protagonist of the story. We need a description of the verse, and I feel like Berserk, specifically the author of Berserk, implements these characters to give us descriptions of the verse since it's so complex and the data book is not that active, which demonstrate if you want. So the characters making the wrong statements thing is not relevant at all. And then I don't care if you're granting whether or not the character has supreme knowledge. I'm not saying any character has supreme knowledge other than the idea of evil. All I'm saying is that when you make a comment such as that, that translates to the author line, which you have no argument for. I don't care about random, and Archie, please hear this point. I don't care about random, baseless possibilities seemingly. There's no reasonability towards any of these questions. You can go.
Can I respond?
Yeah.
So you're saying that these are random and you said there's no basis to any of these questions. Is that what you're saying?
Seemingly. Yeah, I said
Huh?
seemingly because you haven't provided a basis towards most questions that you proposed.
I didn't hear you. You're saying yes because it's
I
basis. Are you
said, I
saying
said, I said seemingly because you have yet to propose any basis towards multiple
yes?
questions you've laid out.
I do have a basis.
I'm not
I
saying you
will
don't
say
have a
that.
basis. I'm saying you haven't proposed most of them for the questions.
Wait a minute. You said it's baseless. I have a basis, and you
No, I
haven't
said
like.
seemingly it's baseless due to the lack of proposal of the basis for the
What
questions
do you
that
mean
you've
a
laid
lack
out.
of proposal? Just because like
Yeah, I'm
you make
saying
it
you
lack
haven't
proposal?
told. I know. I'm saying you haven't told us a basis for most of the questions you've laid out. Hello.
I
Hello.
guess the main point of why does she like have to know this information or how does she know this information is a big basis. Do you want me to reiterate it for you?
I'm not. Oh my god. I'm not saying that there's a lack of basis for a question. I'm saying that there's a lack of basis for multiple relevant questions.
So what are the relevant questions outside of the main question, the main point that leads into those sub questions that I asked otherwise? What is how do those questions lack basis when the main thing is supporting the foundation for us to even branch off and see the other points is still strong? Right? That's what I'm saying. I still would have a foundation for me to get another, ask more and more questions because the initial foundation was never broke. I wouldn't have to ask more questions if my initial foundation was broke. But since the fact that I have questions, so whether or not you believe those questions have basis is completely irrelevant because there's a main foundation that solidifies and branches off my other questions that goes along with that. I wouldn't need to branch off from the tree if you would have chopped the tree off from the jump. So what is your disagreement with my initial basis that I give? That's what I'm telling you. What is the thing that you have
Okay,
with a
wait. Hold on. Hold
disagreement
on. Hold on. Hold on.
with
I
my
don't
initial
think.
basis?
I don't think you understand. Just because there's an original foundation for the original question you proposed doesn't mean that the things that stray off, at least the conversation, the points that stray off also have a basis, or even the basis is connected to the original foundation. The original foundation can stand, which I don't believe it does, but the original foundation can stand for the original question. However, you ask different questions that are unrelated to the foundation later on. Like, for example, how does her witchfulness connect to a bunch of details? Or why is the author implementing a true statement statement in this scenario, etc. There's a lack of reasonability there. However, you can say that the first point could be due to a lack of knowledge. That can be a basis for the first point. However, I don't see any basis that you've given at all for any other questions that you've delivered, even though the first basis is still yet to be justified.
Yeah. So I do believe that if you don't believe I justified the first basis, I do believe like I did. But if you just get my initial foundational point has a basis, it only matters about what's going on like with these minor points. I just disagree with that. Like I said, I wouldn't even be prone to ask these additional questions without my basis in the first place. I think these different questions have a basis underlining within it. And I think I've actually gave a basisness for them. I'll just repeat it simply right now. Why does a witch automatically grant her having the knowledge
But
that's true?
before you do, hold on, before you do, can I clarify with something real quick? So the first point that you just made is a question bag. All you did was repeat yourself. I don't care about repetition as motivation. However, for the second questions, we can
Yeah,
just
you
conclude
you
if you think
I
I give a
didn't. It's not
basis.
a.
yeah, you cut out. Yeah.
Wait,
Yeah, I said, yeah,
hold
I
on,
just said, I
was
just said there was a
talking,
question
bro.
bag. We can conclude.
Well, no, I didn't know it wasn't a question bag at all. At all. I'm gonna explain why it wasn't a question bag. So I don't think I committed a questioning bag fallacy because I was simply telling you, or even much more so just explaining to you the argument. That man simply just didn't understand. So I was reiterating it. That's all I was doing.
Well, just to be clear, there's no argument. It's just a question. The question is an argument.
Reason
So
why
a question can be a question bag. A
it's cutting
question
me off.
bag has to be in relation to an argument.
Stop cutting me off, bro. Stop cutting
You're
me off.
lagging.
Stop
You're
cutting me
lagging,
off,
bro.
bro. I've been cutting you off
You're
this whole time,
lagging. I
bro.
don't mean to. I
I
don't
have
mean to
that don't
cut you off.
mean
You're lagging, bro. You're lagging, bro. I don't mean to cut you off.
bro. Okay, my bad. All I was saying, all I was saying is that the reason why my questions were getting asked in the first place was because the initial foundation basis was not broken down. That's what I'm saying. So this gives me the opportunity to ask these furthermore questions because you did not have a way around my initial basis. And like I said, I think I gave an underlying basis for everything. Like I said, and I'm gonna get into that. I said, why does her having a witch automatically mean that she's not fully about these things? Because that's saying she's making an affirmative statement saying that this thing is to be true. What means did she do it? I'm saying, did she meet him? Did she learn about him? What analytical things can happen to where she would possibly make this information? Has she around? These are certain questions I can ask. This is simple skepticism that people use in debates all times. This is simple stuff that has an underlying basis behind it. You explain, okay, did they have an interaction? Or we just assume that they had an interaction. That's some other shit. I think the thing that you said earlier is the
Bro.
author being, hold on, you say the author being complex. I think Berserk is a very complex manga more compared to other ones, so I think it's completely fine if the author can throw us straight information. There's plot in the verse. A lot of things the author can use to throw you off from different characters. And like I said, she can make some right statements, but just because she makes some right statements doesn't have to mean her other statements are true too. Like I said, I think the type of entity Griffith is, if he is this thing, I don't know why she would have some type of justification to reason about such a thing that cannot even be conceived or is beyond physical as him, or is she describing him to be a higher level than her? And how so is higher level than her? How does she have the means to connect to something that was higher to her? Because she's already connected to a certain realm. So is he beyond the astral realm? Is he in the astral realm? Like I just don't understand. Is he in the astral realm but just transcendental? There's a lot of questions like that I have to keep asking. Literally.
Okay, look, I've answered most of these questions just to be clear. So, if he is transcendental analytically, he exists in the astral world because to be transcendental analytically, by the way, as I've said 3 times, is to be spiritual and or non-physical. I connected the reason as to why it's both. Now, in response to the other points that you made, you saying the author can implement random strays is not likely, and you have yet to give any argument as to why he would do that in this scenario. The basis that you tried to give, you attempted to give, was plot twist. However, you can't show me a single plot twist within Berserk. You can't show a single plot twist in Berserk at all. And even then, if you were to, which is impossible, you can't show a single one, there is no connection between the plot twist and him implementing a character who sometimes lies and sometimes tells the truth. As I've said, there's characters in Berserk who are stones to delivering information to the readers and other means that we would not be able to get. For example, the Skull Knight. Archie knows this because he's read Berserk. Now, in response to the I'm questioning everything or whatever, the skepticism stuff. I don't know if D1 taught you this or something, but this is not how skepticism works. You need a basis towards your skepticism. I agree. You attempted to provide a valid foundation for the first question, which you are now saying, I'm not saying it's true, you're saying is connected to the other questions. I don't grant that they're connected to the same questions or connected to the other paths that we've went through or walked through this entire debate. You are just repeating that they are, which is a question bag. The question bag isn't the question. There is no such thing as a question begging question. That makes no sense. The question bag exists in the argument. It resides in the argument. That's the entire point. The reason as to why your foundation is justified is due to the assumption that your foundation is justified, and also due to the assumption that my foundation isn't justified, which our foundations are the economists. That's the entire point. Now, I've connected a reason as to why her being a witch is justification, even though that's not the only justification, is justification for her knowledge on femto. It's because she's connected to the astral plane, and within the astral plane exists the God hand, which are the most popular feature of the astral realm, besides maybe the idea of evil, which I think the astral realm is still more popular. Or I think the God hand is still more popular than that. So she might not know small details such as where Demon One was located at 5 p.m. on a Saturday night when Cardi dropped that shitty ass album. However, she probably knows the most popular feature of the asteroid, which is the God Hand. Please stop writing. And then the higher thing, my bad, cut out. The higher thing, no, I didn't cut out. I just lied, by the way, because I wasn't finished. But the higher thing, it does not matter. We can give arguments that justify God's existence analytically. They can be logical arguments. They don't have to be empirical arguments. So I'm not making a claim that you said due to them being a higher being, she has no justification. But I'm just claiming for the judge that due to her or him being a higher being, that does not mean that there's a lack of justification, or does not mean that there's a lack of a claim being true when she makes a comment on his nature. And additionally, there was an interaction between them, but I'm saying it does not matter if there's an interaction between them because of her knowing that he is a part of the God hand, which I'm not just going off of her statement alone, and we don't even know or we don't even need to know if there was a connection or interaction between them. All we need to know is that Berserk is complex, which Archie he granted, and if it's complex, we need descriptions. That, like I said, the guidebook isn't that active. So character statements, the author's still talking in respect to the characters. He's implementing them in perspective of the character. They can be information giving. Like, for example, her and Skull Knight, we see Skull Knight every single time he pops up. He's giving information for the readers and to Guts, etc. They can be implemented as information givers, which we see is consistent. Now, what is the argument for the first thing that I asked?
So I'll be honest with you. You cut out a lot of times during that shit. I ain't gonna lie to you. So it's a verse. You cut off in the jump. I heard a little bit in the middle and towards like a little bit at the middle end. You cut out. Then you cut out, and I just heard your last 10 seconds. They cut out for me in the middle, in the front, and the end.
Okay, I'll just summarize every point. Wait, is any did I cut out for you or Archie? Did you hear my points?
Yeah, I heard
You
it.
didn't cut out for me.
I don't think you.
Okay, yeah. So Deadboy, yeah, I know. Yeah, so in sum, point one,
That nigga cut out
them.
for me, bro.
You said,
My
yeah, I know.
Wi-Fi ass.
I'm about to repeat that. I got you. But so point one, the higher shit does not matter. We can justify and just cut me off whenever I cut out. The higher shit does not matter. We can justify God existing even though He's higher than us. We don't need empirical basis. Secondly, even though there is an interaction, the interaction was shown. And if you want me to show that, I can maybe show that. But the interaction does not matter at all because I'm saying these could just be setting stones. Like, for example, the Skull Knight. And I'm just saying that these can be, yeah, I got you. I'm just saying that these can be setting stones for descriptions that they portray for the readers to understand the complexity of the story, since you already granted that there's a complexity. Instead of her needing to have a known interaction, the author can just be implementing a statement or description to be to the readers, and we accept it at face value because we're not power scalers. Okay.
What is up with that?
Oh, what?
Oh my god. Okay, so he can just be implementing statements that describes everything to us because, like I said, the guidebook isn't active, and these can just be setting stones like the Skull Knight and her. And underlining basis is not what I said. I said you have a foundation, or at least you attempted to deliver a foundation for your original question, and then you tried to connect it to the other points, which you just question bagged. The question isn't the question bag. The argument is the question bag. There's no such thing as a question making question. That's some shit that Shinra would make up. But I do not grant that you justified the original foundation you gave. You're just making that claim. The question back was you attempting to deliver your justification, such as I justified the original foundation because you didn't justify your side, which obviously they're the economists. If my side is justified, your foundation is defeated. If your foundation is still up, then that means I probably haven't justified my side. Anyways, the skepticism, like I said, like I was just commenting on your lack of teachings from D1 with proper skepticism. Seemingly, there's no basis here that accurately depicts what's going on in the situation. It just seems like you're ratting. There's no plot twist to my knowledge that you can send that even justifies the basis for the question of the misguidance or misinformation. There's not a single plot twist in Berserk that I know of, actually. So please deliver that. And even if there was a plot twist, you can't connect that to there being a plot twist between a random character or a character, and then the setting stone descriptions or descriptors, for example, Skull Knight and the girl that I'm talking about, who exists in the verse, which I'm not saying they are, I'm just saying it can possibly be. Now, go ahead.
So that last one you said like it's like 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, I said your mic is crazy. But I'm just saying that you making the claim that there's a plot twist, you can't show me a single plot twist within Berserk. I don't recall a single plot twist in Berserk. I'm sure Archie doesn't either. Everything seems to be foreshadowed and everything like that. And even if there was a plot twist that you can deliver it, but you can't, you probably won't, even if you could. I don't think there's a connection between that and seemingly characters who are setting stones for descriptors. Like, for example, the Skull Knight, who's guaranteed to be a setting stone. He delivers information every single time he shows up, which seems to be true. And continue on. Go ahead.
So let me respond.
Your mic, I can't, bro. Your mic is crazy.
So
Your mic. Yo, can you leave and rejoin or?
Yo, bro, your mic is fucking demonic, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah, that nigga turned into a demon, bro. What the fuck? Yeah, man. So like, yo, Infinity, can you like watch rec for me after this?
Got you.
Hey, can I get VC perms and can I also be able to use soundboards, please?
I want it. Yeah, we hear you. Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. Yup.
So I believe I got like a lot of points to respond to, and I wrote down like the earlier points I got to respond to. So let me
know
earlier points that asked us
you
to
could
respond to
just
that.
you can respond to all of them right now. Let me know if you need me to repeat any points.
Yeah. So do you rather me go like back to like the initial thing then respond to, or do you want to keep?
I want you, me personally, I would like you to respond to. Okay, look. So you have the. You can respond to literally everything that's been said so far that you think you need to respond to. I'm good at tracking.
So I'm gonna just go from the jump. I think the first point, as you said, we already talked about the you're trying here to convince me to convince the judge, right? We already talked about that.
Yup, I believe that we covered that. Yup. Hello? I lagged out. Yeah, I said yes. I believe we covered that.
That was in relevance to the knowledge point, right?
That was in relevance to literally every single question point.
So like the thing that we
wait. Okay, before you continue, I need to refresh my Discord. I'm lagging.
I bet.
All right, hello. Yeah. So the question, yeah. I'm not here to motivate you. Is just in response to literally everything. That's just a clarification I'm giving you for the rest of the debate. It's mainly in response to the questions you ask. Even if you don't believe that I have strong enough evidence for my points, that's fine. I'm not here to deliver strong evidence seemingly to you. I'm here to deliver strong evidence seemingly to the judge. I'm here to convince the judge and Zinni.
Okay. So, well, I'm not. You said Zinni. I don't know why I said Zinni. But the first thing where you said you're not here to convince me, you're not here to convince the judge. All I'm saying is, what I'm telling you is that you have a basis or a basis at all to be valid. That's all I was trying to say. Like, there's not. I'm asking you how you're reaching this conclusion, and you keep dodging around the fact that you are not trying to give me better reasons of how you're getting to the conclusion. That's the whole basis, right? I can agree that you give an argument, and I can agree that you have a conclusion. The reason behind my skepticism is to say, why did you reach the certain conclusion that you reached? That's all I'm asking.
Wait. So
wait,
wait, hold on.
wait,
I'm
hold on.
gonna let you finish, but I have a question because I'm not clear.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. So your reason behind your skepticism is a question? You're lagging, bro.
That's fine. Well, hello? Infinity. That's not what I.
Yeah, I hear you
That's
now.
not what I said at all. I said the reason behind my skepticism is I'm asking you, how did you reach this conclusion?
So,
That's what I'm saying. I'm
so it
asking you,
is a
how did you
question?
reach this conclusion? Hold on. You have a conclusion. Okay, I'm saying, okay, what helps you get to this conclusion? And you've been dodging around that. That's what I'm trying to say. You're saying, oh, I don't have to tell you why. I don't have to convince you. I think it's a reason. But I don't think you're getting to the conclusion that you're getting to. That's all I'm saying. So how are you getting to this conclusion? That's what I was asking you. That's the fundamentals behind the question. And that's a valid question that a lot of people ask in debates, right? They're asking, what is your foundation? What is your proof? What is your justification behind what you're saying? Because again, you are on the affirmative, literally. So when you're on the affirmative, by nature, you're tasked with more when you're affirming claims.
Well, what does
That's
that mean? What is affirmative?
What do you mean? What is affirmative? I
What
understand,
by affirmative?
but we have like we've been debating for a long time. So
I'm
I'm
not
pretty sure
asking by
what
affirmative. Do you mean I'm on the positive? By affirmative, do you mean I'm on the
but
positive?
I literally explained. You made a claim. You asserted something.
There's no such thing as a positive claim if that's what you're
No,
saying.
I said it, bro. I don't know why you just throwing.
That's what
But
I'm
I don't
asking
know
you.
why you just
That's what I'm asking
you
you.
just
That's what I'm
you
asking you.
literally just did respond to me. What I
Okay.
said
Wait.
was,
Do you want me to respond?
I said that you wait on. I said that you made an assertion, and
Yes, I
you're
agree.
coming to a you're coming to a conclusion. Basic debating
That's not what
101.
you
Skip
said.
that. Stop cutting me off. That's what
No. What you said is that I'm on the
it's saying.
affirmative.
How
You
do
said I'm on the
people,
affirmative.
bro? I'm saying, how do people come to this conclusion? How do people come on this affirmative? That's what I'm saying. How did you get there? You need to have a
I can't really
basis
come on that. I don't
behind.
have a dig. But like I said, you made the claim that I was on the affirmative. That's distinct from saying I made an assertion. Yeah,
What
making
do
an
you think?
assertion
What
and
do you
being on
think an
the affirmative is
affirmation
different.
is? What do you think an
Oh my God.
affirmation is?
Look, an affirmation is a strongly presented statement. That's what an affirmation is.
I don't think so. I don't necessarily think so at all. I just think we
That's
have
what
different
the
definitions.
no
We have different.
look.
We
I
can
agree
just go
that
look up the
this point doesn't
definition.
matter. No, listen. That
We
is
can
the
look at the
definition of
definition.
Oxford. Look, that's the definition of Oxford, but it does not matter at all if that's not what you mean. We can just
We talking
continue,
about
bro.
you talking about the
The
word of you talking about affirmative. You talking about affirmative, right?
assertion is a strongly
Are you
presented
talking about
statement.
are you talking about affirmation? Or you talking about assertion?
Right now, I'm talking about assertion. Affirmation is just the statement
Yeah, I'm
of
talking about
existence of
assertion and
something.
assertion in like the definition wise in terms of the debate. When someone says you make an assertion,
Yeah, I know. When someone says you make an okay, an assertion, like I said, analytically, when we're going under
why
Oxford,
are
is
you
just a
saying analytically?
forceful
Like, what do you mean?
because
What do you
that's
mean
what
by
it means.
analytically?
That yeah,
What do you mean by
analytically, what's context? Yeah, I'm trying to
Are you
clarify.
meaning by
Yes,
definition?
if I say if yes, it means by definition. I'm just clarifying everything so nothing is confused by the judge.
Why do you keep? I think it's just used slightly different
By the way, your
when it
mic
comes.
is
Wait,
cutting off.
hold on. I just feel like it's used slightly different when it comes to debating. I'll send you like some simple.
Okay, look, I don't care about that. That's completely
Hold
fine. You
on. I'll
just
send you some
we have
simple like
look. No, no,
debating.
no, no, no,
I'll
no,
send
no, no,
you some
no.
simple
We have
debating. Hold on.
look. I don't know if you read those sites by yourself or something, but look, I
I have read
said
them,
he's
bro.
an
This
idiot.
is natural.
Are you
This is
sure,
regular
bro? Are
debating
you
for me.
sure?
I have.
Yeah, okay. If you read it, then I don't think they work there. But look, go back to the
They
original point.
definitely did, Brody.
Look,
They
do you
definitely
want me
did.
to respond? Do you want me to respond? Do you want me to
I'm
show response to the original question?
I think the definition. The definition
Okay,
has
look.
context.
I don't care about that. Look.
Hold
I
on.
don't know if you think
That's
that you're
not.
losing the main point, so you want to stray off to this,
Bro,
but I don't really care about that.
no, hear them, bro. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. Here you go.
I mean, well,
I'll
of
send you
course
a
you
quick
wouldn't know
little
what I'm talking
PDF.
about.
I
That's the
see a
point.
quick
There's a
little
lot you don't know.
PDF. I see a quick little
Oh, yeah,
PDF.
We can go to the PDF
Yeah, we
together
go
if
to
you want
quick
me to
little
explain things
PDF.
in it.
So we're gonna have a explanation little bit class 101 today.
Oh
So
no.
right there,
I can go to the
we
PDF
say, hold on,
since you didn't
assertion,
understand it
support,
correctly.
exposition, paragraph structure. Do you know anything about this? This is just how it's you when someone's right.
You cut out, by the way.
When you
You cut out. Well, hold on. So you cut out, and then as a response to the original thing, what's the argument as to why a question can be reasonability for skepticism?
You said, what is the reason why a question could be reasonability for skepticism? Because it leaves the fact that there's leave room for questions that you cannot come to a definitive answer. That's debate. Wait, hold on. The fact that there's not a definitive answer that can be come to, the fact that it's up in the air,
lead to ask their questions because we
Okay,
exactly
wait,
do not.
hold on, just to be clear.
Start cutting me off. We exactly do you in every form of debate.
Your mic keeps cutting out, bro.
The how you're reaching this conclusion is the most basic thing. It's the most basic thing you need in a debate.
Okay,
You can
that's
have a
not the most
premise or
basic thing. The fact that
you
you're
can have
debating
a
in a
stop
debate
cutting
is
me
the
off.
most basic thing.
Bro. You can
No,
have
hold
a
on, just to be
premise.
clear,
You
when
can
you
stop
say the
cutting me off.
question,
You can have a
the
premise. You
question
can
is
have a
separate
premise
from the
and a
lack of
conclusion.
knowledge. So
Hold on. You
the
have a
lack of
premise
knowledge
and
of
a
it being true
conclusion.
is the
Hold on,
basis.
bro. We're
The
talking over each
lack
other,
of
bro.
knowledge
You
of
can have a
definitive
premise and
proof. Hold on, the
conclusion.
lack of knowledge
We
of a
can have a
definitive
premise and
truth would be the basis.
you need to understand how we got there, right? Assertions,
That's not
right,
true.
are
Yeah,
things
that's
that
not
people.
true. That's not true. That's not true.
Hey, hey, Naruto beat up Pain, right? I'm asserting, I'm making a claim that Naruto beat up Pain. What I would need for that claim is how I got there and the proof for it, right? Without that assertion is empty. This is basic Hitchens razor. What can be asserted without evidence can be simply dismissed. Your evidence that you tried to give, your
Well,
reasoning
Hitchens
was
razor is
flawed.
just
Hold on,
oxymoronic.
hold on.
Hitchens
Your
razor is
reasoning was
asserted
flawed.
without
Stop cutting me
evidence, so
off,
I could
brother.
just dismiss it without evidence.
Your reasoning was flawed.
Look, Hitchens razor is oxymoronic, and then additionally, listen, hold
Too
on,
much
chill.
room for so many
Additionally,
questions to be open
additionally, the
ended
question
and
is
become to
separate
that
from the lack of
conclusion.
knowledge that you're using
That's
as a
what I'm
basis.
trying to
So
say.
your argument as to why a question could be a
What do
basis
you
is
mean lack of
completely
knowledge?
irrelevant
What are
and
you
a non
saying?
sequitur. Okay, yeah, you said the fact that you can make or ask a question in the first place leads for reasonability towards skepticism due to the undefinitiveness of a truth. Yeah, that isn't an actual response. That's non sequitur because you can one ask questions. Hold on, let me finish. You can one ask questions with there being a definitive truth. You can still ask questions even though
I
there's a
never said
definitive
there
truth.
was
You can
though.
be. I'm clarifying. Hold on. Even if you don't think you said it, there's a recording, and I'm
But
going to respond to it.
I never
Hold on,
disagreed.
bro.
I
Please
never
don't,
agreed.
please don't start with this Perkins stuff, bro. Calm down. Hold on. But look, like I said,
Agreement.
hold on. Can I,
I'm
can
not
I
saying. I'm
finish,
just
bro?
saying.
Can
Do
I
you
finish,
understand
bro?
the
Can
disagreement?
I finish, bro? Oh my God, you can say that after, bro.
I'm
There's a
asking. Do you understand
separation.
the disagreement?
Let me just finish this point, bro. There's a separation between the question and then the lack of knowledge. You said that the basis for the skepticism originally was a question, even though before you said it wasn't a question, but then you contradicted yourself by asking a question. I asked for the argument, you went circular and just repeated yourself, and then you gave a non sequitur, which was the fact that there's lack of the definitive truth. It's up in the air. That's not sequitur at all. That is not inferred by you asking a question. You can say your basis is a lack of knowledge of it being true, which then I would say I don't care about your knowledge. I'm not here to give you new knowledge. I'm here to give the judge new knowledge or convince them on the thing that they don't agree with.
Okay. Are you done?
Yep.
Okay. So first thing you said is, did you make sequences now? Because I'm only because you kind of was talking about something a little different earlier. So I'm trying to which point do you want me to
It's the same
respond to?
stuff I've been saying, bro. You can respond
I
to
don't
both
think so.
if you believe this too.
I do. Like I was saying,
Then just
because I think
respond to
because
two, bro.
I don't know when you were said at the very beginning because
If that's what you
what's
think,
your
just respond to both, bro.
I'm asking you to reiterate yourself because I was talking about one different point and
Oh,
you
you
gave
keep
another
cutting
one.
out,
I
bro.
was thinking about one different
Okay,
point.
look,
I'm
look.
gonna
The first
say,
point is that yes, the first point is that there's a separation between the question and the lack of knowledge being your basis, and then the third or the second point was you've been question begging. There's 2 points there. Respond.
okay, you said there's a separation between my lack of knowledge and the question.
Sure.
What is how is that a response? Like, well, how,
Because you
like I'm not even
said
trying to be funny. How's that a response?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how
The
to help
reason
you
why
in
it
the debate?
responds is because the reason why it responds is because you contradicted yourself by saying question
You cut
wasn't the
out.
basis for
You
skeptic.
cut out.
Yeah, the reason response, yes, the reason why it responds is because you made it about the question not being the basis towards your skepticism, and then you contradicted yourself by asking a question as your justification for your skepticism or your basis for your skepticism. I asked for the motivation as to why a question can be a reasonability for skepticism, and then as a response, you said because if it's up in the air, meaning that there's a lack of definitiveness for the truth, then I shouldn't even be able to ask questions. Therefore, me asking questions is going to be reasonability for towards skepticism. However, I'm saying the lack of knowledge is separate from the ability to ask questions because you can ask a question even though something is true and you know 100% about something due to you writing, for example, or anything such as that.
So I just think you just have a grave misunderstanding of how dialectics and how debates works and
Let's
why
conclude then.
questions are. Stop cutting me off. Like, I'm not done with my argument. I just think there's just a grave misunderstanding of how debates work. The reason why questions are asked is because these claims, right? When you make certain claims or you make certain assertions, there needs to be some sort of connecting factor of how you got there. That's why we have certain fallacies that. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm asking you, what was your connective? What was your connector to tie the points together? And you do not have a connector because I gave different reasons for every different point upon the knowledge to why it can be that. And you saying due to a lack of knowledge, well,
Okay, well,
debate.
let's conclude then. I already believe I have a
It's not cutting me
connector.
off.
I think I have a connector. Your question begging. Your question begging.
Hold on. A debate is for us to find the synthesis of something, right? And for us to come find the truth of things. Obviously, if I'm lacking in knowledge, I'm trying to do, trying to come to an understanding, I can accurately respond. But I cannot give a good, accurate response to the point if there's not even enough good or not even a reason at all to why I should believe it. So I think the basisness is fine. How did you reach the conclusion? Because I can just give you an alternative one. Literally, that's what equal interpretations. I could just easily interpret it as something else. How does she come to this conclusion?
Okay,
Why is
wait.
this
You
has to be
already
true?
did
I
get.
can't. Start
You
cutting me
already
off. Hold on. Start cutting me off. Not everyone.
keep
Not
cutting me
every
out, bro.
way. Hold on. Not every way a person reads can come to a different conclusion. So the question is, you're affirming yours. Why is yours the case? That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying, why can't there be other conclusions
Yeah.
taken into account?
Oh
Because
my
you're not giving
God.
me enough
Okay.
basis or reasoning to why it should be. That's the whole thing I've been talking about here.
Yeah, so what's enough for you is separate for what's enough for the judge. I'm not here to give evidence or motivation to you specifically. As I've said 3 times, I don't care about what you
You don't
think is
have
strong
any
enough. The
evidence. Then what
complex.
is the
Let me finish. Let
evidence?
me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. You just complain about me cutting you off. Let's keep this
My
cordial.
bad. My
The
bad. My bad.
complexity. The complexity of the amount of evidence is dependent on the person and how far off they are from believing this. I'm not here to deliver a complexity amount of evidence for you. I'm happy if you get convinced because obviously Femto beats whoever you have. And then the alternative interpretations don't matter due to the consistency. If you don't believe there's a consistency, we can conclude. I've already said this. We can conclude. Now, the other thing is,
Okay,
I
so you keep
agree.
trying to
Hold on.
say that
Hold on.
it's
Hold
based
on.
off of
Hold on. I
knowledge, but I
wasn't
don't
done.
think
I
it's based
wasn't
off
done.
by
I wasn't
knowledge.
done. I wasn't done. I wasn't done. I wasn't done, bro. Yes. Look, I agree. I can infer a conclusion. You can question it. But if you don't have no reasonability, then I don't believe you have a reason to question it. Therefore, I have no reason to answer it because you could just be writing. So you saying there's alternatives, you have yet to justify the alternatives even being possible in the first place. Because, for example, you brought up the plot twist alternative, which was the basis towards the misguidance stuff, which I already
Oh yeah,
responded to.
I was
So
gonna
do you
get I
want to
was gonna get
conclude?
into that. I was getting into the plot systems, but I didn't get a chance to. Yeah, there is plot twist in Berserk, I think. And you make an argument that just because it's foreshadowed, it can't be a plot twist. That's just wrong. I don't know why you have the opinion that plot twists can actually hit harder when it's thrown a little bit in there. So I think a good plot twist in Berserk is simply the eclipse. Maybe Casca and Guts getting together because there's an initial plot of her being with Griffith, then it would twist the plot that she has sex with Guts. That's a good plot twist. Just because you may not think it's a plot twist, it literally is. That's literally by definition what a plot twist means. So I just gave two good examples why there's plot twists within Berserk. And I think they're
Yeah,
big
can I
examples.
respond to those? You cut out, by the way.
I think these are good enough. Hold on, I think these are good enough examples for us to say, okay, so now we know the author can give plot twists. That's fine to say that certain characters can be misguided or misled with a certain information. That's absolutely fine, and this is backed up due to the basis that this verse does a multitude of times. I've already given 2 examples. You said I couldn't give any. I already fulfilled the. I gave at least one, but I gave 2. So then let me get into the thing
Wait,
where you
can we
talk.
talk about the examples first?
But you made like I don't want your argument.
Hello? You cut out.
I said I don't want your
Okay,
argument
or
just to
can you just
stand.
write the argument down?
You said what?
Can you just write the argument down?
Bro, no, I want to like just respond to it, bro. I've been
I go
writing.
ahead.
I literally have 5 other arguments I already started to get, bro. That's what I'm saying, bro.
I go ahead. Yo, Mono, you're retarded. I love Mono. I go ahead.
Yeah. And the one other thing we were talking about again was just the skepticism not having a basis, right? Or is the justify we just about the skepticism not having a basis. Are you talking about the justification? So no,
Yeah, sure.
being a question. So I think I didn't already
No,
just
no, no,
address.
no, 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 no. The basis was the question, not the skepticism. The basis
Oh, you're
towards the
talking about the
skepticism.
basis was the question.
Yes, that's what you said. Yes.
Okay. So I said the base was the question. And like I said, bro, I think it's completely fine because in debating, the reason why I'm asking the questions is because I'm trying to come to the way, how did you get to this conclusion? So I would have to ask these questions, which would conclude the fact that your conclusion is true. That's what I'm trying to do something where proof it was given. So what I'm asking for furthermore to
What?
justify this certain thing, because this is again based on the character's knowledge, which we do not all have access to. So if it's up in the air, I think it's perfectly fine. The fact that there's multiple ways you can come to conclusions, it's not just inherently self-evident. I think it's completely fine. Like I said, people can read the verse differently than you. And like I said, I already added the fact that the author can for a question. And even fundamental debate again where a question being a good enough reason to deny something. And because these questions are justified. You haven't given me a reason my questions are not justified. And I gave a justifier a multitude of times. Literally. Like I said, maybe if your argument wasn't so vague, right? Where it doesn't leave multiple questions up in the air. Because I still can question, well, how did you get there? Still, how? How did you get there? That more elaborate me, how did you get there? That's what I'm trying to say. So again, you keep saying you're not against me, don't get afraid to judge, but you again, you simply saying these other things said was never justified. You're just piggybacking off of that, like I literally said. So that proof does not matter. The initial thing is, well, how did you get there? That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Yeah. So one, justify the eclipse as a plot twist. Justify the connection between a character being implemented as a descriptor for the readers, possibly, and the sex being a plot twist. So there's two things right there for that point specifically. Justify the sex thing, them having sex and them building a relationship being a plot twist. And you saying is by definition. I need to see the argument for that. But justify there's a plot twist, and if there is a plot twist, justify that being a valid enough data set to represent the population of all statements for a likelihood or even a possibility of what I'm saying, as in my interpretation, leading towards what? Anyways, leading towards the plot twist. A valid argument is just an argument in which the conclusion logically follows from the set of premises you have. Just to clarify, I'm not saying that you disagree with that, just clarifying that. The foreshadow point, I'm not saying that the foreshadow entails there being a lag of a plot twist. I'm not saying that at all. And then the basis towards skepticism thing is just a question bag. I already responded to all that. You just went circular. We don't need to keep talking about this point. Obviously, there's a question. However, you can question anything infinitely, even if you don't think it's vague. Like I said, you can rat, which it seems that you're doing to me right now. You can rat, you're questioning everything. I don't know. Like I said, if you took a page from D1's book, even if I justify something completely and it is a lack of vagueness that exists, you can just keep on questioning. Well, justify the question exists, justify your proof exists, justify you exist, etc. Therefore, you can question anything infinitely. You saying that there being questions entails that there's a lack of evidence for the point is not true, sequitur, or valid. That's just not true at all. Now, finally, I already believe I gave evidence. You saying I didn't give evidence is not proof that I didn't give evidence. So we can conclude. Like, this is so annoying. No, Noah's, and I'm running out of patience because this is so boring. Can we conclude, bro?
All right. So what you said, let me just go point by point what you said. Talk about the plot twist point. You said like how I justify that it was a plot twist. A plot twist by definition. Here I'll just have it up. Plot twist is just an unexpected television. It's just a radical change of direction or expect the outcome of the plot. When it happens in your end, it's known as a twist ending. It may change the audience perception of preceding
Like, can you
events.
repeat that? My bad.
Basically saying it may change the audience perception of preceding events, introduce a new conflict that places it in a different context. So we see for with the eclipse, I don't know it places introduces a new conflict in a different context because we now figure out that this nigga Griffith this whole time was going to do this. We didn't have oh yeah, he's gonna do this, gain hit Guts' ultimate enemy. The only thing that we get is the foreshadowment of just when he's sick or something like that, him just grab Casca's stuff and grabbing stuff like grabbing I said Casca's neck and him trying to kill Guts, but it can still be just interpreted because how they was even interpreting it. He's just an old sick man that's just hurt right now. Not an old sick man, but he's just sick hurt because he got tortured. So I think this is a good detail of a plot twist because this was not expected. The eclipse thing is probably in multitude of times. I don't using this, but rising moments in manga and anime history. It's probably why Berserk is probably known a lot actually from the scene. This was unexpected. It took the plot, shifted it in different terms. Now we have Guts, who's now he has that brand on his name. This absolutely set the Berserk plot in motion. Now that's a connecting piece about everything, and it completely differs from the start of what we thought the Golden Age was. So I think this is a complete good example of a plot twist. And for the Casca going on with Griffith and stuff like that. You hear me? How deeply she's infatuated with Griffith and stuff like that. And I wouldn't expect her to just because Griffith was just a new nigga joining the fucking band of the Hawk. I wouldn't expect her to just eventually catch this dude caught a lot. And also, it's just a plot twist that we see that Griffith just rapes her in front of Guts. Like this was shocking. It made an unexpected turn of events, and that's I think what justifies it being a plot twist. So
okay.
Do you want me to Can I'm about to respond to the other point? Could, but those would be no basis. I think there comes to a point where if I say, okay, show that show me this apple can be eaten, then and I'm questioning, I don't know if that apple can be eaten. If you just eat it right in front of me, then that leaves no room for more questions. You answered the question. You had a proposition. I eat this apple. I question, okay, how you eat the apple? I'm going to put it in my mouth. I'm going to bite it. Okay. I don't believe that you're going to have the capability to do that. Eat the apple. And now, okay, my question is justified. I'm supposed to ask, I don't think that okay, he fulfilled the task. Obviously, before I knew what an apple looks like. I gave him the task. I didn't think he could eat the apple. He completes the task. That answers the questions. So no, I don't think there's more questions after that. The reason why I have further questions for you is because you're not giving me good enough reasons. Let's tie back to the initial thing that you said. The initial thing that you said, Infinity, is that because she has a tie to the connection in the astral realm. The good question I asked: why does her having a tie to the astral realm automatically knows she has to know things about these other characters? That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, are you done?
Who told her? That's what I'm trying to. That's what I kept saying. Who told her that? How does her having this mean that she has to know this? Mean like that's what I'm saying. The niggas are niggas just in that shit just gossiping about Griffith? That's what I'm trying to say. You just reaching certain conclusions. We know the verse can pull you a loop. Literally. That's what I'm saying. How we assume to be true. I didn't assume at the beginning of this shit that Griffith was gonna rape Casca and what he did to the Band of the Hawk. I didn't think that. That's what I'm trying to say. So based on the information he was giving us, based on how he said he was caring about them, Griffith was always lying. Alternative intentions or be misguided through knowledge. So I'm saying that's a good enough reason to question why the same case for here that she can be simply lacking in knowledge. Literally. Maybe Griffith might be something completely different later on down the line. They completely justifiable.
Okay. One, you said it's completely justifiable. Go ahead and justify it. Then, secondly, the example you gave with the apple does not respond at all to you just being able to answer or ask questions infinitely. Please mute your mic, whoever that is echoing. Jester, please mute your mic. That's you. So you can just infinitely ask questions. Anyways, you're weird. You're a grown man. But you can just infinitely ask questions and you can just respond as the basis being there's a lack of knowledge of it being true. There's lack of knowledge of being true. You giving the example about the apple does not justify or disprove my point at all. Because within that example, the question is whether or not you're capable of eating the apple. Then the response would be you physically eating the apple. So you're talking about a posteriori justification. However, if you could just respond by saying, But can you prove that you actually saw or you ate the apple and what I saw is accurate or an accurate description of what happened within reality? Justify that this isn't an illusion? Although, reasonably speaking, those aren't valid questions to some people. However, that still disproves the point that questions end with vagueness or a lack of vagueness. That's not true at all. You can infinitely ask questions. Justify that the apple that you actually ate is an apple. Justify that you're actually capable of doing that. Justify that it was an illusion. Justify it wasn't in my imagination, etc. Questions can keep on going and going and going. So you talking about that example does not disprove anything. Now, I'm going to send the plot twist definition real quick in just VC justification for the judge. By this definition, anything, your points, by the way. So, look, you can say a plot twist is anything. Anything is a plot twist with this definition. If a plot twist is just a twist in the plot, meaning that there's a new direction the plot is going, or something surprising happens, narratively speaking, everything would be a surprise. However, when we talk about the philo of stats, and I want Archie to highlight this point specifically. So, Archie, are you there?
No, sir.
Yeah. So when we talk about philo of stats, we have to use an accurate representing populate, or we have to use an accurately representing data set to get a gauge of the population, which is a topic of conversation. Topic of conversation currently is plot twist. Now, there's distinct types of plot twist because it says or, meaning it's disjunctive. It can be either this A type plot twist or this B type plot twist. There's more than two, but I'm just using that for the example. Now, if it is the case that the eclipse is something that is a surprise to the Berserk readers, which I agree with, and under this definition of a plot twist, it would yes, it would fit the analytical criteria of a plot twist. That's true. However, whether or not that actually represents the type of plot twist in which the characters are misguiding you or misinforming you of things to expect or for other things to occur is a question that's in the air currently. Justify that this data set that you have currently, which I still don't believe are plot twists intuitively speaking, but definitionally they are, justify that these plot twists you proposed are something that accurately represent the population of plot twists that you are trying to talk about, which is the misguiding thing or the foreshadowing thing. Now, you said that the eclipse is an important part of Berserk, in which made it where you believe that that's the reason why it's famous. I don't believe it at all. Even without the eclipse, I would think that Berserk is famous, and I'm sure it had a large following before the eclipse happened because we were engaged with these influential characters such as Griffith, Guts, etc. And then you also said Casca fucking with Guts and everything like that. You said that wouldn't be expected of you. That's fine if you have a lack of knowledge or you're bad at interpreting a series. Me personally, as the reader, if anything, I feel like it would be even more highlighted that she would fuck with someone like Guts because we're going through the path of Guts being the main character, getting stronger, etc. like that. So Guts is a badass to us. And obviously, a lot of girls fuck with badasses. So it wouldn't be completely unexpected or a surprise if Casca starts leaning towards Guts. If the reason why she fucks with Griffith, for example, I'm just highlighting it as an example. If, for example, Griffith is a badass and that's the reason why she fucks with him. Especially if Guts beats Griffith. Now, you said so I want you to prove that's an important plot turn for the eclipse when it comes to relevancy. And you saying I have no basis is still the point of contention. That's just going circular. New conflict isn't a
He
connection.
hung up on me.
Hello? Hello?
Yo, can I conclude by this?
Scoop.
This
Oh, no,
is
Yeah.
chill. But yeah. So all these alternative, you said what, Archie?
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So all these alternatives that you're talking about plot wise does not justify at all. What the fuck? You're just giving a plot twist. I agree, or an attempt to give a plot twist, but that does not accurately represent seemingly the plot type of plot twist that we're talking about. Go ahead.
So you keep saying. So let me talk about the first thing I'd say is about the biting the apple shit. So what biting the apple does, and these were the certain criteria that I set beforehand. I said obviously the person beforehand, and the person obviously would know how it means to eat apple, and so the persons would have the means to say, okay, I don't believe you eat this apple. They're obviously basing up their previous knowledge, right? I'm taking it in a sense where someone isn't being dishonest because that isn't dishonest. He has a question right there, and we can, as debaters, detail. Okay, what's a good enough reason to just be even be able to reason anymore, right? Because certain reasoning can just be baseless. But the first thing was that his main thing was answered. His reasons start then becoming unreasonable, then yeah, in part was answered. That's what I'm trying to say for you. You didn't answer the main part. So it leaves for me to have to keep asking you questions because you did not answer the main part. And what I'm saying is, I'm questioning how does a character have a capacity? Do you? And then you have not showed that. That's all I'm saying. You have not showed the capacity for that. And I think the actual example already helps that out. And then I don't know why you just bring really give any justification to why it is. You just sell philo stats. That doesn't really explain, okay, because of the philo stats, this is why what I'm saying is correct. Like, you have to give some type of justification. You just saying something doesn't outright giving you a thing. And him being a main character and the badass doesn't justify her wanting to implore a sexual relationship with her. Because I can just easily point to different verses where the character isn't necessarily a badass and characters are drawn to him, right? I just think, again, you're just being simply unreasonable right there. You may feel that girls are only attracted to badass. His badass is very subjective. That's not a strong enough argument to be used in this context of a debate. Again, that doesn't justify the reasons or give a meta, even foundational explanation with chair or with legs to stand on to why she would even explore guts. She obviously the reason why I would have for her to not explore guts is the fact that she's in a relationship with somebody else. I don't want to just add that assumption that she'll fuck someone's homeboy. That's me assuming something about a person's character. I don't want to do that. That information has to be volunteered. I can't just come to the conclusion unless it's shown later on. I don't know if this is alluded to or not, but this would still be a plot. The plot has something going for something. There's a new dynamic, which would be the fact that she's not in a sexual relationship with Guts. Like I said, the main character shit, that's just a retarded argument. It doesn't like really help anything else. And they said prove the eclipse was important. Well, yeah. The main antagonist to the verse
Wait, no. I agree. I agree. I don't mean to cut you off, but I
the
agree with
God
that.
hand. Huh?
I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm not telling you to prove that. I agree that the eclipse is important. You said that you believe it's the main, or you one, it's one, or it is the main. You said it is the main reason why Berserk is popular. I disagree with that.
No. Well, what I more so was saying with that is that it's one of the most shocking moments within the verse. So if I say it's one of the main reasons why it's popular, I don't mean to say that, but what I really meant to say is that it's one of the main scenes. Or I'm just mainly talking about the anime right now that's very popular or very much discussed about Berserk. Like when people talk about scenes from Berserk, usually the first thing comes to mind. And I don't know if you have a disagreement, but it's the eclipse scene because of how shocking it was and how much of an impact it leaves on people. Right? There's even reaction videos on YouTube specifically to these scenes. I think the eclipse. Well, I guess you don't just seem to have a problem with eclipse being important, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I do.
The argument is that the eclipse just was a plot twist in a sense where it shifted the dynamic of the verse and it threw us ahead because again, you're saying it could be a lack of knowledge or shit like that, but it's not. It's for certain that this thing would have caused the plot to turn on its head from initial things earlier, from a relationship with all three people to him brutally raping her and now gaining these. For saying like it's enough reason to be surprised, as a lot of people were, literally. So again, I don't understand if you like you're not giving accurate responses to what I'm saying, but I think I have to go over your initial earlier points too.
Okay, wait, hold on. Before we do, let me respond to all that. Hello, who's saying it? You hear me, Devil? Yeah, so there being a reaction on YouTube that's not defeat or justify any point at all. That's completely arbitrary. There's reactions to YouTube on everything. Additionally, yes, I agree. In the clips is an important moment. I don't believe that's the most important moment of the anime. I don't think that's what the anime is known for because I don't even think the anime is known in the first place. In response to the manga is more important than, or I believe the manga is more important, but in response to it being the main scenes, I also don't think that's true of the anime. I believe the main and relevant scenes of the anime is every single butchered scene animationally. I believe the most talked about factor when it comes to the anime is the poor animation. I believe the most popular part of Berserk is the manga. moving on from that, she's in a relationship with Griffith. I don't know when that happened, but there's no evidence at all of her being in a relationship with Griffith. Obviously, there's the contrary. She wanted to put, or she was in love with Griffith due to specific
Wait,
reasons.
didn't ban
Like,
anybody.
no, bro, who's Mike, bro? Chill, chill. She wanted to be in, or she was in love with Griffith due to him saving her as a child. I don't know if she was in love